I haven't done a video in a while, but thought I'd do one today, a quick little video. Of course, when I say quick, mine usually I, I get diarrhea of the mouth and just keep talking. But I want to do another Kenneth Copeland. He has a covenant with God to live to be 120, and he has done several videos of it. Let me play this little clip right here uh, to prove what I'm saying is true, that he's going to live to be 120. Somebody put this up, Cardinal Line, whatever. But I'm going to play that.
I have made an entered covenant with God, and on December the 6th, 2056, I'll see y'all later. I'm out of here. 120 years old. I have.
Okay, who would want to live to be 120 years old in this world? Not me. I don't. Kenneth is now 90 years old, and he's in bad health. And when you see him preach and his knuckles, they look like basketballs. I mean, he's got arthritis bad. So do I. But I don't want. He's 90. I don't want to live to be 90. I'm coming up on 70, and I hope and I pray that I will be taken peacefully. Probably when I'm feeling pretty good, not when I'm laying in a bed wanting to die. I don't like. Nobody likes to see somebody get old and feeble, and they depend on somebody. Nobody wants to see that, and I don't want to see it in Kenneth Copeland. This guy has preached this faith healing, name it and claim it prosperity gospel for decades, and he's a multi-millionaire. He claims he's a billionaire. I don't know, but when you do research on the internet, it's anywhere from 300 million to 700 or 800 million that he's worth. He says he's worth over $1 billion. So whatever, he's worth a lot of money. And he has preached this name it and claim it prosperity gospel for decades. And he claims, like I said, to have a covenant with God to live to be 120 and be in divine health until he's 120, and then he will die. The exact date, y'all heard him. This, what I want to talk about is speaking for, people saying, God told me. Most of the time, it's like, I feel like God told me. It's not God said such and such. It's, I feel like he said such and such. But we don't need to, no, God either said it or he didn't. And you're not going to just feel like it. If God tells you something, you're going to know it. He doesn't speak he never has. Let me say that. He's never spoke to his prophets to send a message to us and told them to say, you felt like I said. That's ridiculous. I'll just call it what it is, ridiculous. But I did want to, this ain't a video. This Copeland's got a new podcast, and this ain't something to enjoy or laugh at, but his granddaughter, she's the one that really will make you stop and think. She has been raised in this, and she's questioning him herself. Why are you? I don't want to see you in pain. You've been preaching. We were raised to believe you could heal all of this. God will do this, and here you are in pain. And what's up with that? Is basically what she's asking him. I've been raised to believe you will live in divine health, and you're going to live to be 120 and all that, and you can't hardly get out of bed now. What's going on? But I do want to play just a little of this to get a point of what I'm talking about.
Between the gap between walking and the redemption of a healed body, if that's what you're.
Okay, that's his granddaughter. Uh, I forget her name, but that's his granddaughter, and she cares about her granddaddy. Of course she does, and she don't want to see him in pain and not able to go about his business that he says he will be doing for another, well, 20, 50, he's going to be doing it another 30 years, whatever. I'm doing the math in my head. But he's going to be doing it for 120 years. And she's looking at him and thinking to herself, you're not going to make it to 91. You don't look like you will make it to 91. And she's thinking the same thing all of us are thinking. What's up with that, Grandpa?
You're believing for, and the pain or the time while you're waiting for that manifestation to take place, because we know it was handled and paid for on the cross. So how do we get our words and mind in alignment with the picture of redemption? Like for you, I'm watching you. It's hard to watch you in pain, since you hurt your back when your appendix ruptured and you got the pinched nerve in your back. And, now we're talking about maybe you having to have back surgery at 90 years old. And I'm just like, God.
If you'll notice, I've got the transcript running over here too, so you can see what's being said also.
Why is my grandfather, of all people, at 90 years old, having to go through this pain when he has lived his life teaching about the manifestation of healing? Why won't you heal him right now?
He did 2,000 years ago.
So then,
see, that's a sickening argument. There's a video online of Kenneth Copeland having a healing convention, and one guy rolls up, somebody pushes him up there in a wheelchair, and he pops him on the head, and that wheelchair flips over backwards. And Kenneth says, he ain't hurt. Get him up, pick him up. He ain't hurt. I mean, of course, the guy left the convention in a wheelchair too. He wasn't healed. And Kenneth claimed, yeah, I can heal people. I can heal. He will, how they do. They'll talk about in the audience, I feel there's somebody in here with an ear infection. It's gone. And there's somebody over there with a severe headache. That's a tumor, and it's gone. Something that you cannot verify. But now that it's him and he's in pain and all of this, and well, yeah, he healed me 2,000 years ago, and it doesn't make sense. What do they call it? Cognitive dissonance. When you're just living totally opposite of what you claim. Just you're denying what you believe. You live in denial of what you teach and believe. I don't understand it myself. I don't, how can people follow this? But more people follow this stuff than they do the Bible. They really do. And, I can't explain it. But let's listen a little bit more. But look at the look on her face. She really does care about her granddaddy, and who don't? And you feel bad for her in a way, but she's got to grow up and get away from this nonsense.
Why are you still in pain? It's hard. I'm struggling a little bit, and it's hard for me to admit that, but it's frustrating for me to watch you. Help me.
Well, yeah, it's like this.
Yeah, she doesn't understand what you've been teaching me my whole life, and I'm watching you suffer. And it's, I'm struggling. And when she said, I'm struggling with this, she's telling him, I feel like you've been lying to me. That's what she's telling him. I feel like I've been lied to. You made these claims. And also Gloria Copeland, her grandmother, Kenneth's wife, she's in the last stages of dementia or Alzheimer's. something like that. She doesn't know where she's at. But last year they had a convention and they escorted her on stage just to show people she's still alive, but she didn't know where she was at. And Kenneth had Benny Hinn lay hands on her and all that. And I want you to lay hands on Gloria. And he did, and she looked around like she was watching balloons. She had no clue what was going on. And it's pitiful. They taught all this stuff for decades, and now their grandkids that have been raised in this, their kids and grandkids, are saying, well, something is bad off. Something is really wrong. And if we study in the Bible and we know what the Bible says, we know what's wrong. Kenneth has been preaching a false doctrine. He's been speaking for God where God didn't speak. That's the problem. He has focused his ministry on health and wealth, and he's got the wealth, but he don't have the health no more. He stayed in good health, for 90 years old. The man doing pretty good. Who don't have arthritis, but he's doing pretty good. Except he's got a pacemaker now, and he's got chronic back pain from I don't know where that came from. But when you get older and older, I can speak for it myself. I'm 67 almost, and your body starts telling you, can't do that. Slow down. Oh, this hurts. You wake up with a new pain every day, and this is the world. This is the world, the cursed world we live in. But we are promised a resurrection. That's what I look forward to. I don't want to live here forever. I don't. I want to look back and say, good riddance. But this man is afraid to die. That's why I know he is. He has to be. To want to live to be 120 years old in this world, you have a fear of death. But there's nothing he can do. He cannot turn the clock back. His body is giving out. His wife's body is giving out. And the best thing we can do is bide our time and do our best to bring others to the faith and keep ourselves pure and in the faith. And that way, when we get our new immortal bodies, we ain't got to worry about none of this, and we ain't got to speak for God where he didn't speak and say, well, I've got a covenant with him and I'm going to live to be 120 and preach this gospel. Well, no, you're not, Kenneth. You're not going to live to be 120. We can see that ourselves. It's nothing to laugh at, but it's the truth. Hear a little more.
Now, as I said, I don't do anything without inquiring of the Lord. Well, December the 6th, I'll be 90 years old. And I'm not about to quit one way or the other. But the Lord led me to a born-again neurosurgeon that's considered to be one of the best in the world.
Yeah, he's talking about the surgery he's got coming up. There's a place in here where she's got a look on her face. You feel bad for her because she loves her grandpa, and she don't want to see him suffering. But we're all going to be in that shape if we don't die in an accident or something like that. If the Lord lets us grow old, we're going to be feeble and dependent on others.
I got a long way to go.
So you're saying the Lord, because you're inquiring of the Lord, he's showing you step by step and will lead you to the healing manifestation, even if it's not.
I absolutely wouldn't have done it without his permission.
She ain't buying it, see? That look on her face, she's not buying it. She's saying, that's not what you've been teaching us, Grandpa. You're going to heal. Watch her face.
Showing you step by step and will lead you to the healing manifestation, even if it's not.
I absolutely wouldn't have done it without his permission. Ever. I don't care how bad it hurts. And
that's what I wanted to play you, but, I feel bad for her. That's his granddaughter. But he has taught her from very little to today. She's interviewing him, and she ain't buying it anymore. She knows the gig is up. Grandpa, you're not going to live to be 120. And what you've been telling us is not coming true in your own health. Let me see how much time I got on Clip Champ. Well, I got about 15 minutes until I have to stop it. Let me But anyway, the look on her face, I got some things that I'd written down, and you can't see them on screen, but I got another laptop open over here. And Jeremiah 23:16, God says, do not listen to the words of the prophets who prophesy to you. They speak visions from their own minds, not from the mouth of the Lord. God, he doesn't appreciate a human saying, God said, when God did not say, because it misleads people. It's not the fact that they just said that, it's they mislead people who are gullible enough to believe it. See, Kenneth has a strong following, and one of the things they say, touch not God's anointed. He's anointed, touch not God's anointed. And they're afraid to speak up because he has fed them that nonsense. And, David said he wouldn't touch Saul. He wouldn't touch him because that's God's anointed. That's what it means. We're not to grab Kenneth Copeland and squeeze his throat and say, quit lying to people. No, that's not what it means. We are to call out these false prophets. In Jeremiah 23:21, I did not send these prophets, yet they ran. I did not speak to them, yet they prophesied. God he doesn't. Jeremiah had a lot to say about that. But God, they, under the old law, they were put to death. They would test the spirits, and if what they said didn't come to pass, they were to kill them. In Jeremiah 23:25 and 26, God rebukes those who say, I have dreamed, I have dreamed. When a dream did not come from God, they just tell lies, and it's for their own benefit. Kenneth, like I said, he has made a lot of money off of this. He has a big following. It's worldwide. And the gullible people send in the money. They send money daily. There's no telling how much a day Copeland Ministries brings in. If you'll remember, Swaggart, at one time, he was bringing in $500,000 a day. And that's been years ago. Just imagine with inflation and all that, and the much more of an audience Kenneth Copeland has in his ministry worldwide. Who knows? I hadn't looked. That Liberty place, they might have looked, but if Swaggart could bring in $500,000 a day, imagine what Kenneth Copeland has been bringing in. Deuteronomy 18:20, but the prophet who presumes to speak a word in my name that I have not commanded, that prophet shall die. I realize these are Old Testament sayings from the prophets, but what would make God change his mind that, okay, under the new covenant, I'm going to send out people who can name it and claim it and be wealthy. I want you to preach wealth and prosperity and divine health and all that. God didn't change. God hadn't changed a bit on that. He don't want us lying and saying, God told me to say this. And when you look at the face of that young woman, she's a young woman, not a girl, but you look at her face, she's about to give it up. She's going to say shortly, soon, when I say shortly, she's not going to be in this when Kenneth, uh, when he passes away or something or gets in worse health. She's going to leave what faith she did have, and who knows where she'll end up. But the odds are that's what's going to happen. And I hate it because she cares deeply for her grandpa. And so do our grandkids. They care deeply for us. They wouldn't want to see us suffering. But if I had taught them and Riley nonsense and then about being divine health and all that, they would be disappointed and disgusted, and they'd leave the faith. Might leave the faith. I won't say for sure, but that's what it leads to. The look on her face is what Kenneth Copeland. He should look at this picture himself. And what have I done to my granddaughter? And that's you can see it in her eyes. You can just see it. Matthew 24:24. False prophets will arise and deceive many. I understand that might have happened in the first century, but they did. They were false. We are to test everything. We have the complete word. We have what we need. And we don't need to rely on these kind of preachers. And when they go to talking about what you can have physically in this world, they're lying because what we want is the things to come. We look to a land we haven't received yet. Moses did, Abraham did, they all did. They looked to a better resurrection. They didn't get to see the spiritual promised land. We hadn't seen it yet either, but we will. And that's what we look forward to. Myself, I want to get rid of this physical body. I want a new body. I don't want this old body forever, for eternity. I mean, and I don't want to live to be 120. I mean, my word. I had another thing. Let me see if I can get it open here before I run out of time. I had something else I wanted to. Of course, you can't see it. I understand that, but I got it in another laptop here. And of course, it's freezing up. Well, anyway, that's pretty much what I had to say anyway. But if you keep up with Copeland Ministries, he's the one that COVID-19, he destroyed COVID-19 in 2020. It was destroyed. And, people made funny little musical tunes out of it. And COVID-19 is still around, but Kenneth destroyed it in 2020. And why people didn't leave him then, I don't know. Don't ask me. And Kenneth come out and said later, he said, well, whatever you do, don't you stop your tithing. Of course. Stop your tithing, he's got a business. But we're supposed to pray for these people. We're not supposed to, but I will pray for her, his granddaughter, because I got my own granddaughters to think of, and I would think to myself, I don't hope I don't teach them and raise them to believe something that would kill their spirit like that. You can see it. It's destroyed her. And because her grandpa was suffering. And I got news for him, it ain't going to get any better. And you go under the knife at 90 years old, the odds are not looking good for you, just for surgery. But that's all I got to say, and I just wanted to share a little of it. And I hadn't done a video in a while, and thought I'd go ahead and do one while this was on my mind. Well, I appreciate you listening. I'll see y'all next time.
slip away every year this day to our hideaway. Every year this day we slip away to our hideaway. Time slipped away, but not our hideaway. Every year this day we always say we fell in love today. Through stages and changes we know where that place is. Two hearts loving every day. That's where we keep our hideaway. Every year this day we always say we fell in love today. Time slipped away, but not our hideaway. Through stages and changes we know where that place is. Two hearts loving every day. That's where we keep our hideaway. Time slipped away, but not our hideaway. Every year this day we always say we fell in love today. Every year this day we always say we love